Check out more of this horrifying video showing a wild shootout on a moving North Carolina bus. The driver, look at right there. Wow, he's returning fire with a passenger who pulled a weapon on him for not stopping the bus where he wanted to. Wow, it's just really incredible. Thank God he was able to protect himself. Joining us now to discuss this in more is Project 21 member and political activist Whitley Yates. Also joining us, GOP strategist Adrian Norman. Thank you guys for joining us. Whitley, it's worth noting that after this ordeal, the driver, David Fullard, was fired. He was fired for defending himself. And it's not like the guy didn't have a weapon on him. He pulled out a weapon. If somebody's pulling out a gun in your face, you're expecting them to shoot. So he was simply defending himself. When you see this video, you see the guy, he's pulling out his weapon, and then he fires back. What goes through your mind that he was fired for this?
I mean, I really just can't believe that people are expected to be attacked while at work. It's complete lawlessness and crime is on the rise, and people are not expected to protect themselves, whether they are card-carrying Second Amendment advocates or not. If someone is going to attempt to do me harm, I feel like I have the right to respond. And I think it's really disappointing to see how businesses and how companies are responding to the rash and crime that we're having and how people are choosing to advocate and protect themselves.
Adrian, what goes through your mind when you see Al Sharpton, when you see Al Crump? Because over the death of an African-American man, allegedly, at the hands of a white person. Yet we're seeing what's happening in Chicago with young children of color. We're seeing what's happening in Washington, D.C. We're seeing what's happening in New York City, all cities all across the country. The #1 victims of gun violence are young people of color. Why are they not outraged about that?
That's a really good question. It's hard to say, and I think it kind of gets to the point that with a lot of these activists who are out here, they're not really interested in solving crimes. They're interested in addressing the root of the concern. Rather, they're trying to score cheap political points. And you mentioned we have issues with crime in Chicago and throughout St. Louis and various parts of the country. Part of the problem is we need to start prosecuting criminals. We need to start taking these issues a little bit more seriously, and also address some policies that might get to the root of these problems and the economic issues and the issues with poverty and destabilized communities that are the basis for these crimes being committed in the first place. And nobody's really wanting to have a serious conversation on these types of topics.
Whitley, I also wanted to pivot over to another shocking crime that the popular clothing store, Lululemon, it fired 2 of its Georgia employees who confronted masked robbers who were stealing from the store. So, and then the executive of Lululemon, he was like, well, it's just merchandise. Look, they didn't attack the robbers. They didn't even do anything. They just tried to stop them, and they were fired for it. So a spokesperson for Lululemon stated they weren't terminated for calling the cops, however, but for knowingly violating our zero tolerance policy related to physically engaging with the perpetrators. Just for simply trying to say something to them, they were fired for it. What's your reaction?
I think Lululemon is completely loopy. I think that their decision-making skills are off, and they are perpetuating crimes not only in their stores, but in the employees that work in their stores, creating more unstable and insecure environments. The truth is, if someone runs in your store to ransack it and you tell them to get out and leave, you should not be fired for it. But the truth is, these corporations are perpetuating lawlessness and crime and creating an open invitations from the corporations to come to steal, and we are not going to do anything to you. As a matter of fact, we're going to fire the people who tell you to get out.
Adrian, 30 seconds. What's your reaction?
This is a crazy policy, and I get that they had an incident in the past, so they don't want their employees directly confronting criminals who are stealing, but they didn't confront them. All they did was ask them to leave the store, right? So, I mean, the employees said that they're not supposed to acknowledge robberies at all. With a lot of these shopping malls, they allocate resources in terms of where police presence is and where security is based on reported incidents of crime. So if you have situations like this that are occurring and you're not even allowed to report that this activity is taking place, all you're doing is inviting more of it. We're seeing stores across the United States close because of shoplifting, and ultimately this is going to be bad for Lululemon. It's going to be bad for their clients as well.
And we're seeing major retailers across the country shutting down, never mind mom and pop shops. Thank you so much, Whitley Yates and Adrian Norman.
Thank you.